Shedeur Sanders is a very unique football player, one that it was hard to project what was going to happen because he followed his father, Deion Sanders, Jackson State, transfers, plays 2 years at Colorado. They had to completely rebuild that roster through the portal. He was getting obliterated. What was it? He got sacked like 45 times or something like that his first year. It was bad.
Ago. Yeah.
And he still hung in there. There's the question about his ability to move. There's the question about what could he do if he had to play in a different kind of – there's all kinds of things. But again, it's still the same point we talked about in the first segment, John. A transfer quarterback who has made it. There's no doubting that he is incredibly accurate. And he's also a big play guy. He can be clutch. What's your take on the whole transfer situation? And again, I know you're going to follow your dad, but what's your take on him playing not at even the P4 level or G5, but he was at Jackson State and then going to Colorado and tearing it up?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone who's going to bet on themselves, it's probably a Sanders. And that was something we saw right out of the gates. I think he was committed to FAU and maybe Lane Kiffin coming out of high school. And then, he made the move, to Jackson State when his dad got the job, understandably so. But yeah, this was a bet on yourself type of kid. And I think that's why he's so polarizing. There's so much that's easy to see and easy to like. You mentioned it, the toughness, the pedigree, the confidence, the what to be clutch, the throw it in a tight window element that he has in his bag. Those are sort of, undeniable pros when you're looking at Sanders, but, not the biggest guy, not the most mobile guy. The offense, yes, he led the nation in completion percentage, but a lot of those throws were at or near the line of scrimmage. And you could counter argue and say, hey, well, if you've got Travis Hunter and Wester and all these other guys that are incredibly fast, Horn Jr., yeah, I'm throwing a lot of bubble screens too because I want to get the ball in the playmaker's hands, especially when the offensive line is not up to snuff, which is something that, again, was very evident over the last couple of years. So you can play both sides of that coin, but I think stylistically he's a point guard, and that's something that isn't for everyone. If you look at, the best NFL teams, if you look at the Super Bowl winners over the last 5-10 years or so, there's a lot of gunslinger. And then there's a lot of true dual threat. Obviously Jalen Hurts is the reigning Super Bowl champion. Patrick Mahomes redefined the position. You go even to a Joe Burrow type, there's a lot of movement skills. Josh Allen, the guys who are considered the very best or close, a lot of movement skills and a lot of, I can get this thing going with will just as much as I can with my arm. And that's really where I think where Cam Ward has been the obvious choice over Shedeur Sanders. That's the main reason. And it's probably part of the reason why Jackson Dart is getting this late push of hype and momentum, because he's shown he can tote the rock a little bit too. So I think those detractors are also clear relative to Shedeur Sanders, but there's still a place clearly for that point guard, ball distribution, high completion percentage quarterback. I mean, Kirk Cousins is like a top 5 richest quarterback in the history of the world because of this and the sustainability and toughness he's shown over a long period of time with this style. Now, Shedeur is a little bit more mobile and probably more polished coming out than a Kirk Cousins, but that competitiveness, that toughness, that consistency, that accuracy still resonates in a pass-first NFL. So I think it'll probably keep Shedeur in that first round, but you could also understand why Ward is clearly the pick over him relative to the NFL and why, Jackson Dart, even a Jalen Milroe are guys that are sort of creeping up and closing the gap there, because at a minimum, they can really go get it with their legs in a tough, SEC type of environment. So that's the one thing Shedeur doesn't have. But he's kind of proven everyone wrong at every single level. There might have not been a player with more pressure or expectation on him, than Shedeur that first year at Colorado. I think Arch Manning this year will probably take that mantle, but he handled it incredibly well. No drama, no controversy, big wins, national spotlight, and obviously Sanders family knows how to embrace that, but you still got to go out there and do it. So I do think there's a lot of pros to Shedeur Sanders, and he'll have a fascinating and probably long NFL career, because everyone needs, at the end of the day, a smart, accurate, tough quarterback, and he's obviously the